Hey everyone! Ready to dive deep into the world of The Parent Trap? Released on July 29, 1998, this film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. It was on the warm summer day of July 29, 1998, that Disney released a film that would not only revive a beloved classic but also introduce the world to a dazzling young talent who would go on to define a generation. The Parent Trap, directed by the ever-stylish Nancy Meyers in her directorial debut, reimagined the 1961 original with a fresh, heartwarming, and irresistibly fun twist for the late 90s. From its first moments, the film isn't just content to entertain. It sweeps viewers into a story of family, identity, and second chances, all wrapped in comedy, romance, and just the right amount of mischievous chaos. It's the kind of movie that sneaks up on you. What starts as a feel-good family flick quickly reveals layers of depth, character work, and emotional nuance that make it unforgettable long after the credits roll. What makes The Parent Trap extraordinary isn't just the plot, although it's delightfully clever, or even the performances. Though those are superb, it's the balance. The film is a masterclass in tonal harmony, moving from hilarity to heartbreak to heartwarming resolution with ease. It presents a whimsical idea, a set of identical twins, separated at birth, who randomly meet at summer camp, and makes it feel emotionally grounded and completely believable. But even more than that, it's the attention to detail, the carefully crafted characters, the aesthetic flair, and the undeniable chemistry between its cast that elevates it into something rare. A remake that stands proudly on its own, perhaps even surpassing the original in cultural impact. And at the very heart of it all is Lindsay Lohan, in her first major film role. The moment she steps onto the screen as Hallie Parker and Annie James, it's immediately clear this isn't a fluke. Her dual performance is astonishing. The way she switches accents, mannerisms, posture, even eye movement, is so convincing, so seamless, that countless viewers believed for years that the movie starred actual twins. She gives both Hallie and Annie distinct personalities and emotional depth while maintaining a shared spark that ties them together. It's not just impressive, it's magnetic. And what's more, she holds her own against seasoned actors like Dennis Quaid and the ever-elegant Natasha Richardson, making it clear that this kid wasn't just playing pretend, she was announcing herself as a true star. The film opens in romantic, golden-hued fashion aboard the QE2, where Nick Parker and Elizabeth James first meet and fall in love. It's a montage drenched in charm, elegance, and a little bit of old-school magic, set to the classic swing of Nat King Cole's LOVE. The setup is quick but effective. Boy meets girl, sparks fly, vows are exchanged, and then, heartbreakingly, they part ways. What we're not shown immediately is the full extent of their decision. A bitter divorce leads to a stunning, if absurd, arrangement. Each parent takes one of their twin daughters and raises her in a different corner of the world, never telling her about her sister's existence. It's wild, it's bold, and yet somehow, within the film's universe, it works. Fast forward 11 years, and we arrive at Camp Walden, a quintessential East Coast summer camp, where our story truly begins. Hallie arrives from Napa, California, cool, laid-back, and a bit of a tomboy. She's witty, confident, and instantly likable. Annie, meanwhile, comes from London, with a polished accent, a neat blazer, and an air of sophistication that immediately sets her apart. Their first meeting is explosive. They clash, both metaphorically and literally, culminating in a hilariously intense fencing match. The rivalry quickly escalates into prank wars, with chocolate syrup in beds, cabins rigged with strings, and more than a few smug smiles exchanged across the mess hall. But when they're sentenced to share a cabin in isolation after their chaos gets out of hand, the real story unfolds. What follows is one of the most iconic twin reveal moments in cinema. As they slowly piece together their similarities, birthday, family history, a shared love for Oreos with peanut butter, the realization hits, they're sisters. No, more than that, they're identical twins, separated by parents who couldn't bear to stay together. The emotion of the moment isn't played too heavily, which makes it even more powerful. There's wonder, curiosity, and a quiet sadness underneath the excitement. For the first time, these girls get to experience something most of us take for granted. The simple, undeniable joy of knowing you're not alone. But the movie doesn't dwell too long. The girls are thinkers, planners, and schemers, and almost immediately, they devise a plan to swap places. Annie will head to California as Hallie, and Hallie to London as Annie. Their goal? To reunite their parents and get the family they never knew they were missing. It's a charming, ridiculous, completely captivating setup. What could go wrong? Everything, of course, and that's the fun of it. In Napa, Annie as Hallie meets her quirky, lovable grandfather and the warm-hearted housekeeper Chessie, who nearly unravels when she realizes the girl in front of her isn't the same one she raised. The scene where she finally confronts the truth is one of the film's most emotional moments. Lisa and Walter brings a surprising tenderness to Chessie, grounding the film in a deeper sense of familial love. Meanwhile, Hallie as Annie explores London, falling in love with her mother's stylish world and the elegance of their townhouse, not to mention the hilariously proper butler Martin. His hilarious handshake turn dance with Annie becomes one of the film's most meme-worthy moments and an instant fan favorite. But there's a ticking clock. Enter Meredith Blake, the film's resident antagonist, portrayed by the stunningly sharp Elaine Hendricks. A 26-year-old PR executive with a closet full of designer dresses and an eye on Nick Parker's fortune, Meredith is the perfect blend of snark, ambition, and glamour. She sees Hallie, as Annie, mind you, as an inconvenience and wastes no time plotting to get her out of the picture. Hendricks plays Meredith with delicious villainy, never slipping into caricature. She's bold, unapologetic, and completely self-assured, which makes it all the more satisfying when the twins decide to take her down. The inevitable moment comes when the truth is revealed. Hallie and Annie confess who they really are. The shock on Nick and Elizabeth's faces is a masterclass in comedic timing and emotional restraint. Instead of melting down or falling apart, the adults react with quiet disbelief, followed by a reluctant willingness to go along with their daughter's new plan. Spend time together as a family again. Which brings us to the Stafford Hotel in San Francisco, a luxurious callback to where Nick and Elizabeth were married. Here, things get real. No more tricks, no more pretending. The parents are forced to talk, to face the past, to address the pain they buried for over a decade. Natasha Richardson, in particular, brings a delicate vulnerability to Elizabeth. Her grace, her regret, her hope, it's all in her eyes. Dennis Quaid matches her with a quietly devastating charm, as Nick begins to realize that he never stopped loving her. It's grown up, it's honest, and it gives the film a weight that lingers. But the twins aren't done. Their final scheme? A surprise camping trip. Only this time, it's Meredith who gets an invite. What follows is classic chaos: mosquitoes, hiking mishaps, floating away on a mattress in the middle of the lake. It's slapstick and ridiculous in all the best ways. And finally, when Meredith's composure shatters, she reveals her true self in a glorious tantrum. If I see one more mosquito, I'm going to scream. The breakup is swift, satisfying, and exactly what the audience wants. And just when it seems like things might fizzle out, the parents back to their separate lives, the twins returning to normal, Nick and Hallie show up at Elizabeth's London doorstep in the rain. It's a callback to old Hollywood romance, rain-drenched and heartfelt. Elizabeth asks why Nick didn't stop her before, and he says, "I didn't know you'd say yes." The vulnerability in that moment is everything. It's not grand or showy, but it's real. The film ends not with dramatic flair but with quiet triumph. A family finally reunited, a love rekindled, and two sisters standing side by side where they belong. Over the credits, Natalie Cole belts "This Will Be an Everlasting Love," and honestly, it feels like the only appropriate send-off. The joy is infectious. The journey has been winding, silly, beautiful, and absolutely worth it. So why did The Parent Trap become a cultural phenomenon? Maybe it's because it spoke to something deeper. Every kid's fantasy of adventure, of discovering a hidden twin, of fixing a broken family. Maybe it's the strength of its performances, the brightness of its humor, or the genuine emotion at its core. It's rare for a movie to make you laugh and cry in equal measure, to feel both light and deep at once. But this film does just that. It's comforting, familiar, and somehow still fresh every time you revisit it. And let's not forget how it helped launch a new era of family films. The 90s were rich with memorable cinema, but The Parent Trap stood out by combining traditional. In the summer of 1998, audiences were introduced to a cinematic gem that combined heartfelt storytelling with comedic brilliance, The Parent Trap. Directed by Nancy Meyers, this film not only reimagined the 1961 classic but also showcased the remarkable talent of a young Lindsay Lohan in her dual role as twin sisters Hallie Parker and Annie James. The movie's seamless blend of humor, emotion, and adventure captivated viewers worldwide, making it a standout in late 90s cinema. The narrative unfolds with a flashback to 1986, where aboard the luxurious Queen Elizabeth II, two strangers from disparate worlds find love. Nick Parker, an American vineyard owner, and Elizabeth James, a renowned British wedding gown designer, embark on a whirlwind romance, culminating in marriage. Their union brings forth twin daughters, Hallie and Annie. However, as time passes, differences arise, leading to a divorce that results in the twins being raised separately. Hallie in Napa Valley with Nick and Annie in London with Elizabeth. Wikipedia. 12 years later, fate intervenes as both girls are sent to the same summer camp, Camp Walden. Their initial meeting is nothing short of cinematic gold, a fencing match that escalates into a series of pranks, setting the stage for a rivalry that is both entertaining and telling of their fiery spirits. This clash of personalities serves as the catalyst for the unfolding adventure, drawing viewers into a tale of unexpected kinship and shared history. The turning point arrives when, confined together in an isolation cabin as a consequence of their antics, Hallie and Annie uncover the truth of their parentage. The discovery that they are sisters, separated at birth, is both poignant and exhilarating. This revelation ignites a daring plan, to switch places and orchestrate a reunion between their estranged parents. Each twin immerses herself in the other's life, Annie embracing the rustic charm of Napa Valley, meeting Nick's loyal housekeeper Chessie, and uncovering the complexities of Nick's life, including his engagement to the ambitious Meredith Blake. Meanwhile, Hallie navigates the sophisticated world of London, bonding with Elizabeth and the ever-dutiful butler Martin, all while uncovering layers of her mother's past and present. Wikipedia. As the twins delve deeper into their respective roles, they encounter a series of challenges and revelations. Annie's discomfort with Meredith's plans to send Hallie to boarding school in Timbuktu highlights the looming threat to their family unity. Simultaneously, Hallie's growing bond with Elizabeth and the looming presence of Meredith's ulterior motives add layers of tension and anticipation. These intertwined storylines not only build suspense but also underscore the emotional stakes of the twins' mission. The culmination of these intertwined efforts is a meticulously planned meeting at the Stafford Hotel in California, where Nick and Elizabeth's paths cross once more. The setting is rich with nostalgia, echoing their initial meeting and the love they once shared. However, the presence of Meredith introduces a new dynamic, challenging the twins' plans and adding a layer of complexity to their mission. The ensuing events are a masterclass in comedic timing and heartfelt moments, as the twins' schemes unfold with both humor and poignancy. Throughout this first half, the film masterfully weaves themes of family, identity, and the unbreakable bonds of sisterhood. The performances are nothing short of stellar, with Lindsay Lohan delivering a nuanced portrayal of two distinct characters, each with her own desires and vulnerabilities. The supporting cast, including Dennis Quaid as Nick and Natasha Richardson as Elizabeth, provide depth and authenticity to the narrative, grounding the fantastical elements in genuine emotion. As the twins' bold scheme begins to unfold in the second half of The Parent Trap, a new kind of energy hums beneath every scene. A blend of anticipation, emotional stakes, and the palpable fear that, despite their best intentions, their dream of reuniting their family might still slip away. It's no longer just about curiosity or novelty, it's about reclaiming what was lost. The halfway point is where the tone deepens, where the laughs are still frequent, but the heartstrings begin to tug harder. And that moment comes swiftly, with a long-awaited rendezvous at the opulent Stafford Hotel in San Francisco, the very place where Nick and Elizabeth were married over a decade earlier. Nick and Elizabeth, who haven't seen one another in over 11 years, arrive unaware of the other's presence. The tension is immediate, but it's not hostile. It's something softer, sadder. When Elizabeth steps off the elevator and catches sight of Nick, the camera slows, the music stills, and for a brief, unspoken moment, everything comes rushing back. Their eyes lock, and it's not a reunion built on anger or bitterness, but on surprise, regret, and the realization that the feelings they buried may never have really left. It's a scene that doesn't need much dialogue. Their chemistry, simmering just under the surface, says it all. But any hopes of a seamless family reunion are complicated by one very large, very high-heeled obstacle: Meredith Blake. Stylish, assertive, and laser-focused on locking down her engagement to Nick, Meredith wastes no time asserting control. She's suspicious of Elizabeth, clearly uncomfortable with the twin situation, and growing increasingly irritated by the chaos that surrounds Nick's life. Her sleek facade begins to crack, not all at once, but in little moments that foreshadow a glorious unraveling ahead. The girls see it too, and they realize, if their plan is going to work, Meredith has to go. What follows is a masterclass in clever plotting and heartfelt pacing. Elizabeth, under the guise of a civilized agreement, is persuaded to spend a few days at Nick's Napa Valley estate, if only to give the girls time to decide who goes where. Of course, the girls have no intention of making that decision. Their real plan? Force their parents to fall back in love. The scenes that follow are some of the most tender in the film. There's a quiet dinner under the stars, conversations about the past, and awkward, longing glances across sunlit vineyards. Nick confesses that he kept Elizabeth's wedding picture in his sock drawer all these years. Elizabeth brushes it off, but you can see it gets to her. She never really stopped loving him either. It's not just nostalgia, it's unfinished business. They talk about the twins, about their wild personalities, and for the first time, they begin to reckon with the consequences of the decision they made all those years ago. Meanwhile, the twins are working overtime behind the scenes, organizing picnics, placing subtle romantic hints, even resorting to the classic twin switcheroo to keep things running smoothly. But they're not working alone. Chessie, Nick's housekeeper and surrogate mother figure, and Martin, Elizabeth's dashing butler, become co-conspirators in the grand mission. The unlikely duo even find their own spark, a subplot that adds warmth and comic relief without stealing the spotlight. But time is running out. Meredith senses the shift. She's not wrong to be worried. Nick is visibly distracted, nostalgic, and softening around Elizabeth. In one scene, as she watches him laugh with Elizabeth and the girls, Meredith's polished expression falters. You can see her calculating. This isn't just a summer fling she's up against. It's a family, reforging bonds right before her eyes. In a last-ditch power move, Meredith demands that Nick choose between her and the chaos. Her ultimatum: either they send Hallie to a Swiss boarding school, far away from the meddling matchmakers, or she walks. Nick, visibly torn, tries to maintain peace. But is blind to just how unhappy the girls, and even he himself, have become under Meredith's control. This leads to what may be the film's funniest and most iconic sequence: the camping trip. Desperate to break up the engagement for good, Hallie and Annie invite Meredith on a family camping trip. Meredith, determined to play along and prove she's the cool stepmom, agrees. But she has no idea what's coming. From mosquito ambushes and lizard-in-the-water-bottle pranks to waking up on a floating mattress in the middle of a lake, the girls execute a flawless takedown. It's mischief with a mission, and the audience is completely in on the joke. Elaine Hendrix's performance here is pitch perfect. She doesn't just play the villain. She embodies a woman unraveling, piece by piece, under the weight of a reality she can't control. Her final meltdown, screaming, stomping, and demanding to be airlifted out of the woods, is pure comedy gold. And when Nick finally tells her, "If being with my daughters is going to be any kind of inconvenience to you, well, that's just too bad," the applause is earned. Meredith storms off, leaving behind a campfire full of smirking satisfaction. But even with the villain vanquished, the family isn't quite whole. There's still one major obstacle: distance. Elizabeth plans to return to London. The plan didn't work, at least not in the way the girls hoped. The goodbye is quiet. Painful. Bittersweet. Hallie and Annie try to hide their disappointment, but the moment lands hard. After all they've done, their parents still won't be together. The dream that seemed so close now feels just out of reach. And yet, in classic Nancy Meyers fashion, the emotional payoff doesn't come with fireworks or declarations. It comes with something simpler, more sincere. Back in London, Elizabeth walks through the front door, only to find Nick and Hallie standing there, soaked from the rain. Her heart stops. He came after her. He made the grand gesture she always wanted, the one he never made before. And he didn't come just for Hallie, he came for Elizabeth too. Their reunion is quiet but rich in emotion. No screaming, no dramatic speeches. Just a man and a woman who finally acknowledge that they never stopped loving each other. "Why didn't you come after me?" Elizabeth asks, voice trembling. And Nick, completely vulnerable, replies, "I didn't know you'd say yes." It's a line so simple, so human, it breaks your heart a little. They kiss, finally, and with that, the family is whole. The final moments of the film are a celebration, not just of love, but of unity, of healing, of the impossible dream that came true because two girls refused to give up on it. The girls stand side by side on a yacht, reunited, no longer pretending, no longer separated. Their parents laugh, hold hands, and begin again. Over the credits, Natalie Cole's "This Will Be an Everlasting Love" kicks in, and honestly, there's no better send-off. It's joyful, bright, full of promise, just like the film itself. But even as the story closes, its impact lingers. The Parent Trap isn't just about reuniting a family. It's about the enduring power of love, the magic of childhood, and the belief that even the biggest problems can be solved with a little courage, a little mischief, and a lot of heart. Every detail, from the mirrored morning routines to the locket around their necks, ties the narrative together in a satisfying loop. Nothing is wasted. Every element serves the whole. Nancy Meyers didn't just direct a movie, she crafted a cinematic experience that continues to resonate decades later. It's timeless, endlessly rewatchable, and filled with those rare moments that feel just as powerful the 10th time as they did the first. And perhaps that's the greatest twist of all, that a film built on such a whimsical premise, a secret twin swap, could go on to become one of the most emotionally resonant, carefully crafted family stories in modern cinema. One that taught us laughter and love aren't mutually exclusive, and that sometimes, just sometimes, happily ever after needs a little help. From two 11-year-olds, with a plan. In the sun-drenched vineyards of Napa Valley and the rain-kissed streets of London, a story unfolds, not just of long-lost twins reunited, but of the quiet emotional journeys taken by every character who touches their world. The Parent Trap, 1998, is remembered for its clever plot and light-hearted humor, but what gives it its staying power, what truly lodges it in the hearts of viewers, is the way each character, from mischievous twin to lovesick parent, evolves before our eyes. These aren't just roles. They're arcs woven into the story's very soul. At the center of it all is Lindsay Lohan, in a performance so remarkably assured and multi-layered that it's still cited as one of the most impressive child acting debuts in film history. As Hallie Parker and Annie James, she does more than play two parts. She becomes two people. It's not just the accents, though they're flawless. It's in the way she holds herself, the subtle expressions, the emotional tones that separate a California girl with messy hair and bare feet from a poised Londoner with a polished blazer and perfectly tied hair bow. Hallie is bold, sarcastic, and emotionally intuitive. Annie is refined, thoughtful, and occasionally shy. But both girls share a fierce intelligence, a deep sense of longing, and a hidden vulnerability born of never knowing the other existed. What makes their arcs so compelling isn't just the discovery of sisterhood. It's what that discovery unlocks in each of them. Hallie, who's grown up without a mother, yearns for structure, grace, and the maternal connection she sees in Elizabeth. Annie, raised without her father, craves the freedom, laughter, and playfulness she finds in Nick. Their journey isn't just about reuniting their parents. It's about claiming the parts of themselves they never had the chance to know. And as they step into each other's shoes, literally and figuratively, they grow. Hallie learns restraint and tenderness, Annie learns confidence and mischief. It's one of the most emotionally satisfying exchanges in the film, and Lohan brings it all to life with a sincerity and charm that never once feels forced. Then there's Nick Parker, played with disarming warmth by Dennis Quaid. At first glance, Nick seems like the classic rom-com dad, ruggedly handsome, successful, and slightly overwhelmed by his daughter's energy. But beneath the easygoing exterior is a man who's quietly haunted by a decision he made over a decade ago. Quaid's performance is laced with subtle sorrow. He plays Nick as a man who's built a life, but never truly moved on. He's raised Hallie with love, but there's a visible ache when he sees Elizabeth again. That moment in the hotel, when he can't take his eyes off her, speaks volumes without a word. It's not just about rekindling romance. It's about regret, longing, and the fear of repeating old mistakes. His transformation is gradual, believable, and deeply human. By the end of the film, when he finally steps into the rain in London and says, "I didn't know you'd say yes," we believe every word. He's not a hero reclaiming love. He's a man who's finally letting himself be vulnerable again. Elizabeth James, played with luminous grace by Natasha Richardson, is the emotional heartbeat of the film. She's sophisticated, elegant, and emotionally guarded, but not cold. There's a softness in her every gesture, a maternal intuition that reveals itself slowly. She's successful, composed, admired, but underneath the perfect posture is a woman who spent 12 years wondering what if. Her reaction to discovering Hallie, really Annie, is heartbreaking in its restraint. She doesn't break down or panic, she kneels. She reaches out with trembling fingers and says her daughter's name. In that moment, Natasha Richardson conveys more emotion in a whisper than most actors do in a monologue. Elizabeth's arc isn't just about reconnecting with her ex. It's about confronting the choice she made to walk away. She's a mother reclaiming her other half, and in doing so, reclaiming a piece of herself. By the end of the film, when she steps outside and finds Nick waiting in the rain, it's not just a romantic payoff, it's a moment of healing. She dares to hope again. And then there's Meredith Blake, beautiful, manipulative, ambitious, and absolutely iconic. Elaine Hendricks doesn't just play the evil stepmom-to-be. She elevates Meredith into one of the most memorable, deliciously devious characters in family film history. From her smirking lines, "I'm not a dog, I'm a bitch," to her pristine fashion and perfectly arched eyebrows, Meredith commands attention in every scene. But what's fascinating about her isn't just her villainy, it's her motivation. She doesn't hate the girls. She sees them as a threat, yes, but her real focus is Nick, and the security he represents. Her schemes, her charm, her desperation, they're all fueled by fear. Fear of being replaced. Fear of losing the game. Her unraveling on the camping trip is hilarious, but it's also revealing. The woman who began the film in control ends it screaming about mosquitoes and demanding a private jet. It's comedy with a little tragedy behind it, and Hendricks plays it to perfection. But The Parent Trap wouldn't be what it is without its heart and soul supporting characters. Take Chessie, played by the wonderfully expressive Lisa and Walter. What begins as comic relief quickly becomes something much more profound. Chessie is more than just a housekeeper. She's Hallie's stand-in mother, the emotional glue of the Parker household. Her realization that Annie is not who she seems is one of the film's most affecting scenes. She goes from confused to suspicious to tearfully overwhelmed, all in under 2 minutes. The way she gasps, steps back, and then embraces Annie, sobbing, is a perfect example of the film's ability to blend humor with genuine emotional resonance. Chessie isn't just a side character. She's a mirror, reflecting what's been missing all along: maternal connection, unconditional love, and family warmth. And across the ocean, the film gifts us Martin, the ever-dutiful, delightfully quirky butler portrayed by Simon Coons. At first, Martin seems like pure comic relief, with his precise mannerisms and dry wit. But as the film progresses, he becomes something of a guardian angel for Annie, and later, a secret hero in the twins' grand scheme. His handshake dance with Hallie is unforgettable, but it's his partnership with Chessie that becomes the film's quiet B-plot love story. Their flirty glances, his ripped shirt moment by the pool, the mutual admiration that blooms between them. It's subtle, sweet, and totally endearing. In a film about Reconnect Ion, Martin and Chessie show us that love doesn't always have to be complicated. Sometimes, it's as simple as meeting your match in the unlikeliest of places. Even the briefest characters are given their moments. Grandfather Charles, Elizabeth's dignified and reserved father, provides grounding. He's the only other character who sees through the twins' switch almost immediately, and while he doesn't interfere, his quiet support speaks volumes. He represents legacy, tradition, and the understated strength of family that doesn't shout, but endures. And then there's Meredith's mother, played with dramatic flair by Joanna Barnes, who ironically starred as Meredith in the original 1961 version. Her brief appearance adds a wink to the past while reinforcing the film's ongoing themes: generations, expectations, and the patterns we try, and sometimes fail, to break. Each of these characters, whether leading or supporting, is essential. There's not a single role that feels unnecessary, not a line of dialogue wasted. The ensemble is tight, the chemistry electric. And that's part of what makes the story feel so real, even when the premise is pure fantasy. Everyone feels lived in. Everyone has a history. Everyone is chasing something, whether it's love, family, redemption, or just a second chance. What's remarkable about The Parent Trap is how it takes a high-concept idea, twins switching places to reunite their divorced parents, and uses it as a vessel for rich emotional storytelling. The plot may sparkle with humor and hijinks, but it's the characters who make us stay. They change. They reveal themselves. They learn. And in the process, we feel like we've learned something too. We learn that forgiveness takes courage. That vulnerability is not weakness, but strength. That family isn't just about blood. It's about showing up, listening, and choosing each other over and over again. By the end, we're not just watching a feel-good movie. We're watching people transform in small but powerful ways. Hallie and Annie find not just each other, but fuller versions of themselves. Nick and Elizabeth reclaim the love they thought they lost. Chessie and Martin stumble into unexpected affection. Even Meredith, in her meltdown, reminds us that control is an illusion, and love doesn't always look the way we expect it to. The Parent Trap is, at its heart, a film about Reconnect Ion, between sisters, parents, lovers, and even strangers turned friends. And its characters, brought to life with heart, humor, and soul, are the ones who guide us there. They're unforgettable not because they're flawless, but because they're fully human, each one carrying a little piece of the story's heart in their own way. Behind the iconic moments, the laughs, and the tender reunions of The Parent Trap, 1998, lies an intricate web of behind-the-scenes challenges, bizarre trivia, and fascinating creative choices that many fans might not even realize. The film, which still captures hearts decades later, has its fair share of unusual production stories, quirky happenings on set, and tidbits that would make any film lover do a double take. So let's pull back the curtain and take a closer look at the strange facts and fascinating behind-the-scenes moments that contributed to the making of this 1998 family classic. A star was born, Lindsay Lohan's double role. One of the most striking features of The Parent Trap is Lindsay Lohan's remarkable ability to play twin sisters, Annie James and Hallie Parker, seemingly seamlessly. But did you know that behind the scenes, Lohan's double role was far from an easy task? In fact, the production team pulled off some impressive technological feats to make sure both of Lohan's characters appeared together on screen in the same scene. It wasn't as simple as just filming her twice. The filmmakers had to use a technique known as split screen, where Lohan would perform as one twin while a stand-in double would be used for the other. Later, special effects experts would carefully blend the footage together to give the illusion that both sisters were interacting at the same time. But the real challenge came in Lohan's performances. As young as she was, just 11 years old at the time, Lindsay had to portray two entirely different personalities, each with its own nuances, accents, and mannerisms. She had to essentially create two characters that not only had distinct visual qualities but emotional and physical qualities that set them apart. What made Lohan's portrayal even more impressive was that she had to work with herself on screen during scenes, keeping her energy up and adjusting her performance to ensure the two characters' interaction felt natural. In fact, the cast and crew were so impressed by her talent that even with all the technical wizardry, they praised how Lindsay was able to switch between Hallie's California coolness and Annie's reserved London sophistication on a dime. A reunion of the 1961 cast, a hidden tribute. If you're a fan of The Parent Trap's original 1961 version, you'll be happy to know that the 1998 remake paid a charming tribute to its predecessor. In a behind-the-scenes twist, The Parent Trap's 1998 version featured Joanna Barnes, who had famously played the villainous Vicky in the 1961 original, in a new role as Meredith Blake's mother. The casting choice was a delightful Easter egg for those familiar with the original, and it's just one of the ways the remake connected the two films. However, this wasn't the only nod to the original. The 1998 film also included a subtle homage to the music, moments, and overall feel of the 1961 version. Perhaps one of the most striking callbacks is when Hallie and Annie briefly sing Let's Get Together, the cheerful tune from the original movie that was performed by Hayley Mills. It's not just a musical tribute but a symbolic gesture, a way to bring together both films across time while reinforcing the central theme of reconciliation and unity. The real challenge of filming the twin swap. You would think that a movie about twin sisters separated at birth and reunited years later would be easy to film. After all, twins are meant to look alike. However, there were some significant hurdles that the production team had to overcome in order to make this plot point believable. Filming scenes with the two sisters, Lohan and her double, meant that director Nancy Meyers had to meticulously coordinate each scene, even down to the tiniest details. But here's where things got tricky. Because Lohan had to perform the same lines and actions twice, sometimes the shots were taken months apart, creating continuity headaches for the crew. Every gesture, every glance, and every touch needed to be perfectly mirrored in both takes. For instance, when Hallie and Annie are sitting at the table together, their movements needed to be so precise that the editors had to match them frame by frame. Even the slightest difference in timing or posture could have ruined the illusion. On top of that, Lindsay Lohan had to act opposite a stand-in for one of the roles and still make it look as though she were interacting with herself. There were also instances where Lohan had to give emotional performances that matched the other twins' reactions, which was a significant acting challenge for someone so young. It's no wonder that many people found Lohan's performances to be so impressive. It was a technical feat on multiple levels. The real-life connection between Lohan and Dennis Quaid. While Lindsay Lohan's acting ability was the obvious standout of the film, she wasn't the only one bringing depth to the story. Dennis Quaid, who played Nick Parker, had an unexpectedly genuine connection with his on-screen daughter. According to behind-the-scenes stories, Lohan and Quaid formed a close bond during filming, and the dynamic between them as father and daughter was both natural and heartfelt. Lohan even called Quaid Uncle Dennis during the production, a playful nickname that symbolized the familial warmth between them. Their chemistry was undeniable, and it's no surprise that it translated into a compelling portrayal of a father reconnecting with his daughter. Interestingly, this closeness also led to some funny moments on set. Quaid, known for his sharp wit, often teased Lohan in a friendly, sibling-like way. At one point, Quaid jokingly commented that Lohan was stealing his scenes, a sentiment that only further solidified the respect and camaraderie they shared. But behind the laughter, there was also a deep sense of responsibility from Quaid, who took on the role of a loving father with great care. His warmth and charm gave Nick Parker a dimension that was more than just the typical wealthy, distant father figure. The filming of Camp Walden, a behind-the-scenes chaos. The scenes set at Camp Walden are some of the most memorable in The Parent Trap. However, as idyllic as they appear on screen, filming at this camp was far from easy. The production team wanted to capture the rustic charm of the camp while keeping it accessible for all the actors and crew. However, this led to some unusual logistical challenges. For one thing, Camp Walden wasn't a real camp. It was a set built specifically for the film. It's safe to say that recreating the charm of a summer camp while simultaneously adhering to tight shooting schedules created its own set of challenges. The camp scenes also featured a large group of young actors, which, as any director will tell you, can be a logistical nightmare. The cast had to deal with a constant cycle of rehearsals, group shots, and managing the chaos that comes with working with a large number of children. On top of that, There was the inherent challenge of keeping things moving smoothly while also ensuring that the film maintained a consistent tone. Nancy Meyers has spoken in interviews about how the young actors were full of energy, which made filming fun but also presented its own set of hurdles. In between shots, the kids would often run around and cause distractions, which could derail even the most carefully planned scenes. Despite this, Meyers and the production team managed to create some of the film's most iconic moments, including the epic pranks and the unforgettable bonding between the sisters. Dennis Quaid and Natasha Richardson's real chemistry. When you watch Nick and Elizabeth reconnecting on screen, there's a palpable chemistry between Dennis Quaid and Natasha Richardson that goes beyond just acting. According to the behind-the-scenes stories, this wasn't just the magic of film, it was also the result of their real-life friendship. Quaid and Richardson were both seasoned actors with deep emotional depth, and they brought that sensitivity to their characters. However, what truly made their pairing special was the way they made each other laugh off camera. Richardson, known for her dry wit and quick humor, had a way of making Quaid laugh between takes, a light-hearted energy that carried over into their performances. Their on-screen chemistry is perhaps most evident in the pivotal scene when Nick and Elizabeth share a romantic moment during their rainy reunion. The scene is emotionally charged, but there's also an infectious playfulness in the way the two actors work together. You can feel the years of tension between them melting away as they embrace, not just as co-parents but as individuals rediscovering the love they once shared. Their real-life connection likely played a role in making this scene feel so authentic and tender. A controversial prank and the scary camp scenes. Behind the humor and the romantic moments, there's a story of how one of the film's pranks took a slightly darker turn. The infamous prank scene, where Hallie and Annie trick Meredith into thinking there's a snake in the cabin, was actually a bit more elaborate than many might expect. The crew used a realistic fake snake that, when combined with the perfect timing, made for a truly memorable moment in the film. However, in a strange twist, the scene almost didn't happen as originally planned. According to the cast, there was a moment of panic on set when a snake handler was accidentally mistaken for an actor during filming, causing some genuine fear on the crew's part. Fortunately, no one was harmed, and the prank went off without a hitch. However, it serves as a reminder that in movies, things don't always go as planned, and sometimes the line between fiction and reality can blur, even in a family-friendly film. The legacy of The Parent Trap's iconic visuals. One of the most significant challenges for the crew was the stunning visuals that permeated The Parent Trap, from the beautiful landscapes of Napa Valley to the pristine streets of London. In fact, one of the film's most iconic locations, Nick Parker's sprawling estate, was an actual private vineyard in California. But even though the setting was stunning, the crew had to carefully navigate the logistics of filming in such an exclusive location. Working around the schedules of the estate's owner and coordinating the large crew took some ingenuity. Despite the practical difficulties, the filmmakers were adamant about creating an atmosphere that reflected the story's heart, a warm, welcoming space for the characters to rebuild what they had lost. The combination of nature's beauty and the character-driven storytelling helped make The Parent Trap visually unforgettable. It wasn't just about creating a picturesque setting. It was about giving the story emotional weight through its visuals, a choice that paid off in spades. Behind every scene of The Parent Trap, there are stories of unexpected challenges, quirky moments, and unforgettable decisions. It's this blend of creativity, hard work, and a bit of serendipity that turned the film into the beloved classic it is today. From Lindsay Lohan's iconic double performance to the personal tributes to the 1961 version, every detail of the production process contributes to its enduring charm. This is a film that continues to surprise, delight, and entertain, even when you think you've seen it all. If you're ready to uncover more fascinating movie-making details or want to dive deeper into any of the other aspects of the film, just let me know. Every film has its moments, scenes that linger in your memory long after the credits roll. The Parent Trap, 1998, is no different, with several key moments that stand out not just for their plot significance, but for their emotional depth, thematic weight, and lasting impact. These scenes don't just propel the story forward. They resonate with audiences in profound ways, shaping the movie into an unforgettable cinematic experience. So let's dive into the critical perspectives on some of The Parent Trap's most iconic scenes, exploring why they work so well and how they shape the heart of the film. The first reunion, a heartfelt introduction. The first meeting between the twin sisters, Hallie and Annie, is undeniably one of the film's most emotional moments. It's the kind of scene that pulls at the heartstrings and sets the tone for everything that follows. The moment itself, the emotional weight of two sisters who've been separated for years finally seeing each other for the first time, is more than just a plot point. It's a culmination of longing, curiosity, and a deep, intrinsic bond that neither time nor distance could sever. What makes this moment so impactful isn't just the visual. A somewhat awkward but full of potential first interaction between Hallie and Annie, but the emotional undercurrent that runs through it. The first few lines exchanged between the twins are laced with both wonder and wariness. Their speech is guarded, as if both are trying to hold back the floodgates of emotions that come with the recognition of a family bond they never knew existed. This scene marks the beginning of their emotional journey, from strangers to sisters, and every look, every shift in body language, feels like a moment of realization. It's not just a plot device, it's the crux of the film's core message, that family is something that can't be erased, no matter the years or distance apart. The musical score here, a gentle, rising melody, perfectly underscores the emotional resonance of the scene. It helps elevate the quiet tension between the characters, two girls who look alike but come from such vastly different worlds. It's a moment of discovery, not just for the characters, but for the audience as well. This is where the story's emotional heart truly starts to beat, and it's easy to understand why it leaves such an indelible mark on the viewers. The Prank War, comedy with a deeper meaning. While The Parent Trap is undeniably a family film, it also knows how to balance its emotional beats with lighter, comedic moments. One of the most memorable elements of the movie is the prank war between the sisters, Hallie and Annie, and their soon-to-be stepmother, Meredith Blake. What starts as innocent mischief quickly escalates into a full-blown war, with the girls pulling out all the stops to make Meredith's life difficult. From bugs in her bed to surprise tennis matches, the pranks are both hilarious and clever, but they also serve a deeper purpose. These comedic moments are about more than just trying to make Meredith's life miserable. They reflect the core struggle of the twins as they try to reunite their parents. Through these pranks, we see their growing bond, and we also see how each twin's personality is starting to mesh with the others. Annie, with her cool, composed demeanor, and Hallie, with her laid-back, confident attitude, come together in ways that highlight their individual strengths while also showing their complementarity. As the pranks grow more elaborate and extreme, we see the growing sisterhood between them, making this seemingly trivial rivalry much more significant. The stakes aren't just about who gets the upper hand. It's about showing that they are in this together, facing the challenge of reconciling their broken family. The film blends humor with an underlying message of togetherness, showing that family can be both a source of tension and the glue that holds us together. The pranks also allow the characters to bond over shared experiences, showing that even in moments of mischief and chaos, there's an underlying strength that forms the backbone of the story. The boat ride, a turning point for Nick and Elizabeth. One of the key moments in the film is when Nick and Elizabeth finally come face to face on a boat, on their way to a secluded retreat. It's here that they begin to acknowledge the feelings they once had for each other, and the scene plays with emotional tension in such a subtle, profound way. While the earlier moments between them were filled with tension, both having moved on, but neither truly letting go, this scene is where the emotional dam begins to break. The boat ride itself is visually stunning. The calm, serene waters are symbolic of the potential peace between Nick and Elizabeth, a stark contrast to the tumultuous feelings that both have been holding on to. The dialogue here is understated but powerful. It's not a grand confession of love. Instead, it's a quiet, almost hesitant conversation where both Nick and Elizabeth begin to realize that perhaps what they've been searching for was always right in front of them. There's a vulnerability in the way they speak to each other, as though they're both opening up to the possibility of reconciliation, not just as co-parents, but as individuals who once shared something deep and meaningful. What makes this scene so important is its emotional depth. It's where the film's central theme of rekindling lost love comes to the forefront. Nick and Elizabeth aren't just realizing they still have feelings for each other. They're also coming to terms with the shared past they have and the family they created. The stillness of the boat ride, combined with the tender, almost shy interaction between the characters, makes this one of the most quietly powerful moments in the film. It's not flashy or dramatic, but it's a subtle, intimate turning point for both characters and for the film's overarching theme of family, healing, and rediscovery. The camp prank, humor with heart. There's something undeniably fun about the scene where the twins switch places and trick their parents into thinking they're the other. It's a comedic high point, complete with all the mischief and cleverness you'd expect from a story about separated twins trying to bring their parents back together. But beneath the surface of the pranks and laughs lies something more meaningful. The sense of agency the girls finally gain. They aren't passive participants in their family's story anymore. They're taking control, trying to make their dreams of a unified family come true. The sheer creativity involved in switching their identities highlights the girls' resourcefulness, but it also underscores how far they've come from being two separated, isolated children to becoming a united force. Sisters who are learning how to work together, to outwit their parents, and to take charge of their own destiny. This scene is also critical in setting up the emotional payoff later in the film. It's funny, yes, but it's also a reminder that the girls are doing all of this not out of malice, but out of love. A love for each other and a desire to repair the family unit that was broken when they were separated. The laughs may be the loudest part of the scene, but the underlying theme is the power of siblinghood and the lengths the girls are willing to go to for the sake of family. The final reunion, emotional climax. The final reunion between Nick and Elizabeth, when they finally acknowledge their feelings for each other and decide to start anew, is the emotional climax of the film. It's everything that has been building throughout the entire story. Love, laughter, hope, and the promise of a family healed and whole once more. What makes this scene so special is that it doesn't rely on flashy moments or grand gestures. Instead, it's about the quiet, sincere recognition of what they've lost and what they still have. The simple act of coming together, acknowledging the pain, and finally deciding to move forward is a cathartic release for both the characters and the audience. As Hallie and Annie watch their parents reconnect, there's a sense of completion, an emotional arc that feels as though it's finally come full circle. The theme of family, which has been woven throughout the entire film, is finally realized in this moment. The girls have done their part. They've reunited their parents and brought them back together. But it's not just about the reunion itself. It's about the healing, the understanding, and the growth that's taken place. It's about forgiveness, of themselves, of each other, and of the mistakes that led to their separation in the first place. This scene encapsulates the movie's core message. No matter what's happened in the past, love and family have the power to heal and rebuild. When you think of The Parent Trap, 1998, it's easy to get swept up in its heartfelt family dynamics, the charming performances, and the timeless themes of love, identity, and reconciliation. However, beneath the surface of its heartwarming story, the film was a masterpiece of creativity and technical innovation. From the seamless blending of Lindsay Lohan playing twin sisters to the stunning landscapes that serve as the backdrop for this family adventure, The Parent Trap pushed the boundaries of what was possible in 1998 filmmaking. Behind every laugh, every tear, and every pranking moment lies a multitude of creative decisions, technical feats, and behind-the-scenes stories that made the movie not just a success, but an example of filmmaking ingenuity. This is the story of how the movie was made, of the challenges that the cast and crew faced, the tools they used, and the groundbreaking techniques that contributed to the film's enduring legacy. Lindsay Lohan's iconic double role. The heart of The Parent Trap is, of course, Lindsay Lohan. To say that playing two distinct characters, Annie James and Hallie Parker, was a monumental task for an 11-year-old is an understatement. However, what makes Lohan's performance so remarkable is not just her ability to embody two personalities, but the way the film employed cutting-edge technology to create the illusion of two distinct characters. At the time, special effects in mainstream cinema had already made huge strides, but the seamless interaction between two characters played by the same actor was still relatively rare. For The Parent Trap, the filmmakers employed a technique known as split screen to place both of Lohan's characters in the same frame. This involved filming one twin at a time, with Lohan performing her lines while a stand-in double, usually a body double in similar clothing, played the other twin in a corresponding shot. Afterward, Special effects technicians meticulously combined the shots, blending the two performances so that they looked like they were interacting with each other in real time. What makes this technique stand out is not just the technical expertise required, but how flawlessly it was executed. The editing team, led by seasoned professionals, painstakingly adjusted every tiny movement to ensure that the characters' eye contact matched and that there were no jarring inconsistencies in their motions. Lohan's ability to adjust her performance based on the other twins' actions, despite working with herself on screen, was a testament to her talent. This was especially difficult given how the scenes were often shot months apart, which means Lohan had to consistently match her previous performance with the new one. The success of this technique was crucial to the film's charm. Watching Annie and Hallie, two characters that were so distinct in personality but so clearly bonded, interact on screen felt natural and, in many ways, magical. The two sisters were no longer just figments of imagination. They were fully realized characters who felt like they could exist in the real world. The pranks, humor, timing, and technical precision. One of the most memorable elements of The Parent Trap is the comedic conflict between the twins and their soon-to-be stepmother, Meredith Blake. The prank war that ensues is not only a source of humor but also an essential narrative device that strengthens the relationship between the sisters and adds levity to the film's emotional moments. The pranks themselves were a blend of slapstick comedy and highly coordinated timing, often requiring careful choreography and meticulous preparation. The production team worked with a variety of practical effects, creating everything from realistic fake snakes to elaborate set pieces that could be dismantled and reassembled on a dime. Each prank was designed not just for laughs, but to advance the story, creating a palpable sense of tension between Meredith and the girls while showcasing their ingenuity. Take, for example, the scene where the girls flood Meredith's bed with a snake. The logistics behind this were impressive. It involved creating a realistic-looking rubber snake that could be placed under the sheets, while Meredith's reaction was captured in one smooth take. Similarly, the prank involving the campers and the tennis match required precision in both planning and performance, as it had to seem spontaneous while being meticulously timed for maximum comedic effect. The scenes had to be shot in a way that allowed for precise interactions between the characters while also capturing their emotional and comedic beats in sync. This kind of timing, especially in a scene involving so many moving parts, required a high level of coordination between the cast, crew, and special effects department. Even more remarkable was the use of visual tricks and set designs to enhance these pranks. The filmmakers relied on techniques such as forced perspective and hidden camera angles to make these scenes seem larger than life. The effect, for example, of tricking Meredith into thinking there was a snake in her bed, wasn't just about the visual effects of the snake itself but the build-up, the tension, and the timing of the scene. This intricate balancing act made the pranks not only hilarious but emotionally resonant, as the audience could see how they symbolized the girls' growing bond and their desire to bring their fractured family back together. The real magic of Camp Walden. Another striking technical achievement in The Parent Trap is the way the filmmakers brought the picturesque Camp Walden to life. While the location was designed to evoke the spirit of a rustic summer camp, complete with canoe rides, campfires, and memorable pranks, the actual filming location was not a real camp at all. The production team chose a private estate, tucked away in the hills of California, and transformed it into the iconic camp where the girls bond with their fellow campers and where the bulk of the film's summer camp scenes take place. Filming at a private location presented some unique challenges. Not only did the crew have to contend with the logistics of filming in an unfamiliar, remote area, but they also had to work around the constraints of preserving the natural beauty of the setting while making it accessible for filming. This required a delicate balancing act, creating the illusion of a summer camp while also ensuring that the technical aspects of the shoot ran smoothly. The filmmakers also made smart use of their environment to create scenes that felt vast and open, using wide-angle shots and overhead views to emphasize the expansive beauty of the natural world surrounding the camp. It wasn't just about the setting, it was about creating an emotional landscape that mirrored the journey of the characters. The camp scenes serve as a space for the girls to escape, bond, and, most importantly, grow into their identities as sisters. The visuals here are crucial in supporting that growth, with the natural setting acting as both a physical and metaphorical space for change. The estate and the grand finale, cinematic wonder. The grandeur of Nick Parker's Napa Valley estate is not just a backdrop for the film's climactic moments. It's a symbol of the family's fractured past and the hope for a reunited future. The visual storytelling in these scenes is a testament to the careful thought that went into the design of the estate and its surroundings. The sprawling vineyard, the sun-kissed patios, and the romantic ambience of the estate provided an ideal setting for the final emotional beats of the film. However, creating this environment wasn't without its hurdles. While the film's setting certainly evokes the opulence of the Parker family, the production team had to meticulously plan every shot to ensure that the grandeur of the estate didn't overshadow the intimacy of the family dynamics unfolding within it. Cinematographer John de Borman carefully used lighting to create a sense of warmth and nostalgia, making the final reunion between Nick and Elizabeth feel both natural and emotionally satisfying. The lush, golden tones of the estate provided a visual counterpart to the warmth the characters were finding within each other. The use of lighting was especially important in the final moments of the film when Nick and Elizabeth's reconciliation comes to fruition. The setting sun, the soft golden light, and the proximity to nature all worked in harmony to create a moment that felt not just like a romantic conclusion but a sense of healing. This wasn't just a happy ending for the characters. It was a visual representation of the emotional closure they had found, symbolized by the place where it all began. The challenges of filming, a learning experience for all. While the technical feats and creative decisions behind The Parent Trap were certainly impressive, the real challenges came in navigating the obstacles of filmmaking. Filming a movie with such complex visual effects, a large cast, and multiple locations presented hurdles that pushed the team to think outside the box. For example, keeping the performance of Lindsay Lohan as both twins consistent throughout the film meant a lot of trial and error, as the crew often had to reshoot scenes to maintain continuity in both the visuals and the performances. Lohan's interaction with herself was seamless, but it required intense dedication from her, as well as technical coordination from the editing and effects team. There was also the challenge of capturing the light-heartedness of the film's pranks while still maintaining the integrity of the story's emotional core. The cast and crew had to strike a careful balance between humor and heart, ensuring that every comedic beat served the larger narrative. The film's successful navigation of these challenges can be attributed to the collective creativity and collaboration of everyone involved, from the actors to the directors, cinematographers, and visual effects artists. In the end, The Parent Trap's technical achievements are just as vital to its success as its performances and storytelling. Through innovative use of visual effects, carefully crafted set designs, and a deep understanding of the emotional undertones of the film, the filmmakers were able to create a movie that wasn't just entertaining, but visually and technically groundbreaking. Every visual choice, from the pranks to the grand finale, served to strengthen the movie's themes and emotional resonance, leaving audiences with a timeless story about love, family, and the magic of coming together. At its surface, The Parent Trap, 1998, may seem like a simple, charming family film, a light-hearted romp about two twin sisters working to reunite their estranged parents. However, beneath its bright exterior lies a story brimming with profound themes, symbols, and social commentary that touch on universal issues such as identity, family, love, and the notion of belonging. From the moment Hallie and Annie meet, the film begins to explore the complexities of what it means to be part of a family, how deeply our sense of self can be influenced by our parents and upbringing, and how reconciliation is not just about fixing what was broken, but embracing what we've become along the way. The story's emotional weight is driven by its deeper messages about connection, resilience, and the transformative power of love. These themes are intertwined with the symbolism embedded in the narrative, such as the twin sisters themselves, two halves of a whole, separated and yet undeniably connected. The film's exploration of family dynamics also offers a nuanced commentary on modern relationships, cultural expectations, and the role that tradition plays in shaping our choices. In many ways, The Parent Trap isn't just a story about two girls and their quest to bring their parents back together. It's an exploration of how we form our identities, how we navigate complex relationships, and how we reconcile with our past to create a future that feels authentic. The power of identity and the search for self. At the heart of The Parent Trap lies the theme of identity. For Hallie and Annie, the entire narrative is propelled by their discovery of who they are and, more importantly, what they are capable of. The twins have been raised in two entirely different worlds. Annie in London, surrounded by the aristocratic lifestyle of her mother's high society, and Hallie in Napa Valley, living a more laid-back and rustic life with her father. These differing environments reflect two very different versions of who they could have been had they grown up together. Their journey is, at its core, a search for self, a quest to understand their origins, their family, and the parts of themselves that were shaped by these environments. Their separation at birth has meant that they've both created identities based on the parents who raised them, yet in each other, they see a mirror of themselves, a reflection of who they could have been in an alternate life. Their reunion is not just about meeting a sibling. It's about confronting the idea that their identities are incomplete without the other. Hallie, who grew up in the carefree American countryside, is bold and unrestrained, while Annie, raised in the formal world of London, is poised and meticulous. But both girls are equally as resourceful, clever, and loving, showing that the core of who they are is unshakable, no matter their environment. The twins' growing bond and the way they work together throughout the movie suggest that the journey towards self-discovery is not just an individual one but also one that can be shaped by relationships. It's the beginning of a deeper exploration of who they are as sisters, and by extension, who they are as individuals. The final moments of the film, where Hallie and Annie bring their parents together, are symbolic of their own self-actualization. It's only once they understand the importance of family and unity that they can come to terms with the parts of themselves that had been missing. In many ways, the film suggests that identity isn't just about the environment or the people you're surrounded by. It's also about what you bring to the table. The twins' ability to understand each other, despite their vastly different upbringings, shows that core values such as love, empathy, and kindness transcend the circumstances that shape us. Family, forgiveness, and the complexities of reconciliation. While The Parent Trap is undoubtedly a story about two girls and their dream of a perfect family, it also delves into the complexities of forgiveness and reconciliation, themes that are at the heart of the story's emotional core. The fractured family at the center of the film serves as a poignant exploration of the challenges that arise from separation, divorce, and the rebuilding of relationships. When Hallie and Annie realize that their parents are still in love with each other, despite having been separated for years, they embark on a mission to rekindle that love. However, their journey is not without its hurdles. The twins quickly learn that their parents have both moved on. Nick is engaged to the superficial and self-centered Meredith, while Elizabeth is living a glamorous, independent life. The emotional wall between the parents has been built over years of hurt and misunderstanding, and it's only through the combined efforts of their daughters that they begin to break it down. The film's treatment of forgiveness is both subtle and profound. Nick and Elizabeth's eventual reconciliation isn't based on grandiose gestures or emotional speeches. Instead, it's rooted in the gradual acceptance of the past and the realization that love, real, true love, is about being willing to forgive, to let go of past mistakes, and to embrace the future, flaws and all. The twins, in their innocence and determination, act as catalysts for this process, reminding their parents of the deep connection they once shared and the love that still exists beneath the surface. It's a beautiful reminder that reconciliation is rarely easy, but it's always worth the effort. The film suggests that the process of coming together after years of separation requires more than just an apology. It requires vulnerability, understanding, and a willingness to be honest with oneself about the choices made and the consequences they carried. Nick and Elizabeth's path to forgiveness, therefore, becomes a metaphor for the larger theme of healing in family relationships. And in this way, The Parent Trap doesn't just offer a sweet reunion but a profound meditation on the complexities of love, loss, and the hope for new beginnings. Symbolism of the twins, unity and duality. The symbolism of the twins is perhaps the most striking thematic element in the film. The idea of being two halves of a whole runs throughout the entire narrative, as the girls begin to understand not only the bond they share but also the separations that have defined them for so long. The visual representation of Hallie and Annie as mirror images of each other speaks to the broader theme of duality. Their mirrored appearances reflect their shared bloodline, but their contrasting personalities and upbringings highlight the ways in which external circumstances shape who we become. Yet, the idea of duality is also balanced by the idea of unity. The moment the girls begin working together, pulling off pranks to drive a wedge between their father and his fiancée, and later scheming to reunite their parents. Their bond grows stronger, and so too does the notion that they are two parts of a singular purpose. Their success in bringing their family together symbolizes the healing power of love and shared goals. They are not just individuals. They are a team, united by a common cause that transcends their differences. The twins also serve as a symbol of second chances. Their parents' separation and their subsequent reconnect mirror the second chance at love that Hallie and Annie are trying to create for their parents. The idea of being reunited with someone you've lost, of healing old wounds, and of creating something new from the pieces of the past, all runs through the symbolism of the twins. The final scene, where Nick and Elizabeth stand together, with Hallie and Annie beside them, further emphasizes this symbolism. It's as if the broken family has been mended, but the mending is not about returning to what was. It's about building something new, something stronger, and more unified. The twins, once separated and living separate lives, have not only brought their parents together, they have also made them whole again. Cultural commentary, the modern family and changing norms. Though The Parent Trap is often celebrated for its light-hearted approach to family dynamics, it also offers some subtle yet insightful commentary on the cultural shifts in how we view family and relationships. In the 1990s, the idea of the traditional family unit was evolving, with divorce rates rising and blended families becoming more common. The Parent Trap touches on this changing reality, not by condemning divorce but by exploring the idea that family is not just about blood. It's also about connection, forgiveness, and the willingness to grow and change. The relationship between Nick and Meredith, for example, is indicative of a societal shift toward materialism and the emphasis on superficial values. Meredith is depicted as the archetype of the gold-digging stepmother, a character who is primarily interested in wealth and status. Her character offers a foil to Elizabeth, who, although from a different world, represents independence, self-sufficiency, and emotional depth. The tension between these two women speaks to the changing cultural expectations of what it means to be a partner, a parent, and a woman. While Elizabeth is portrayed as a figure of strength and grace, Meredith embodies the more materialistic and superficial side of contemporary society. Meanwhile, Hallie and Annie's determination to bring their parents back together reflects the universal desire for family unity, especially in an era where family structures were increasingly fragmented. The film suggests that despite the evolving nature of relationships, the core values of love, understanding, and acceptance remain constant. In this way, The Parent Trap reflects the real-world struggles that many families face while offering hope that healing and connection are possible, no matter how complex or fractured the past may seem. Conclusion. At its heart, The Parent Trap is a story about identity, family, and love, with a strong undercurrent of themes about reconciliation, forgiveness, and the complexities of relationships. The symbolism of the twins, their journey toward unity, and the film's cultural commentary all work together to create a narrative that resonates on a deeper level than just its surface-level premise. Through its exploration of family dynamics, the challenges of modern relationships, and the enduring power of love, The Parent Trap offers not just an entertaining tale of mischief and adventure but a poignant reflection on what it means to belong and how even the most fractured families can find their way back to each other. The visual style, cinematography, and editing of The Parent Trap, 1998, serve as a key part of its emotional resonance, charm, and storytelling depth. With a director like Nancy Meyers at the helm, known for her ability to craft films that are both visually stunning and deeply emotionally engaging, the movie is a masterclass in how to use visual techniques to enhance the narrative. Every frame, every angle, every shot is carefully designed to immerse the audience in the world of Hallie and Annie as they navigate their journey of reconciliation. Cinematography, color palettes, and lighting all contribute to the movie's overall aesthetic, while sound design and music seamlessly interlace with the visual storytelling to amplify the emotions that unfold on screen. There's a quiet magic in how these elements work together in The Parent Trap, a delicate, deliberate balance between humor, drama, and heart. It's a balance that allows the movie to transport us into a world where the bond of family is as magical as it is tangible. Cinematography, crafting the emotional landscape. The cinematography in The Parent Trap is one of the film's unsung heroes, often providing more emotional depth than we might initially realize. The camera work serves not just as a way to capture the action, but also to visually represent the internal worlds of the characters. The framing of shots, the use of wide-angle lenses to emphasize certain moments, and the careful choreography of movement within the frame are all calculated to evoke specific emotions and ideas. In the early scenes, the visual approach is more methodical. The distinct settings of Hallie's family in Napa Valley and Annie's life in London are introduced with soft, warm lighting, immediately suggesting a cozy, idealized version of both worlds. In Napa, wide, sweeping shots of the vineyard's lush rows evoke an idyllic sense of family, a beautiful but somewhat closed-off reality. The vineyard, after all, is a place of wealth and privilege but also solitude, and the shots of Hallie's father, Nick, surrounded by the sprawling land give us a sense of isolation, despite the apparent grandeur. Similarly, Annie's life in London is shot with more muted colors and a softer, more elegant tone. It's a world full of structure and refinement, but it's also slightly colder and more detached. The use of more controlled, symmetrical framing contrasts with the freer, more organic shots of Hallie's world, creating an immediate visual understanding of the differences between the two characters' upbringings. As Hallie and Annie's worlds collide and their bond begins to grow, the cinematography subtly shifts. The frames begin to feel more fluid, as if the rigid barriers between their two lives are starting to break down. There's an elegant simplicity to these transitions. Shots of the twins laughing together or sharing a private moment are often captured in close-ups, highlighting their growing connection. The use of medium shots, where both girls appear together within the same frame, is a visual cue to their increasing unity. Their relationship, once fractured by distance, is now depicted through visual intimacy. The subtle but meaningful change in how they are framed, together, in contrast to the earlier isolation, mirrors the emotional arc of the story. When the final act approaches, the camera work reflects the film's narrative crescendo. The once bright, warm visuals of Napa give way to more intimate, emotionally charged moments. The climactic scenes, where Nick and Elizabeth are brought together, are bathed in soft, golden light, symbolizing the warmth and hope of reconciliation. Cinematographer John de Borman's use of light and shadow here is crucial, as the golden hues create a soft, nostalgic atmosphere that perfectly captures the film's theme of second chances and healing. Color palettes, visual tone and emotional impact. The color palette in The Parent Trap is a key tool in crafting its visual identity. The colors evoke different moods, subtly enhancing the emotional weight of each scene. The overall look of the film is warm and inviting, often using rich, natural tones that reflect the story's themes of family, love, and nostalgia. In Hallie's world, Napa Valley is awash in golden and amber hues, reflecting the idealized, sun-drenched vineyard lifestyle. These colors invoke a sense of calm, serenity, and warmth, qualities that define Hallie's life with her father. However, this warmth also hints at the emotional gaps in her life, the lack of a mother figure, the absence of her twin sister, and the loneliness that Hallie occasionally feels despite the beauty around her. Annie's life in London, in contrast, is colored with more muted, subdued tones. The interiors of her home are often lit with soft pastels, while the outside world seems cool and distant. This palette mirrors Annie's more reserved, polished personality. She is a product of her environment, refined, controlled, and sophisticated, but perhaps lacking the emotional freedom that Hallie experiences. The juxtaposition of these two environments is a visual shorthand for the twins' contrasting lives. As the story progresses and the two girls become more connected, the color palette evolves. As Hallie and Annie begin to forge their bond, the film's colors become more harmonious. The camera starts to highlight shared moments in places where both girls can feel truly themselves. For example, during the camp scenes, there's an earthy palette of greens and browns, reflecting the freedom and growth the girls experience in each other's company. These natural tones also suggest that while their worlds have been different, the twins share a fundamental connection to nature, family, and love. When Nick and Elizabeth reunite in the film's final moments, the warmth of the color palette peaks, symbolizing the rekindling of their love and the restoration of their family. The golden tones of the vineyard, the sun setting in the background, and the soft, amber lighting of the reunion scene all combine to create a feeling of hope and nostalgia. It's a visual conclusion to the journey of emotional and familial reconciliation, captured through a rich and harmonious color scheme that reflects the healing process. Sound design, enhancing emotional engagement. Sound design in The Parent Trap plays a vital role in enhancing the emotional engagement of the audience. The subtleties of the sound design are crucial in grounding the audience in the reality of the character's world, while also amplifying the film's emotional beats. The soundscape of the film is crafted to highlight the contrasts between the two worlds the twins inhabit. In Hallie's life, the sounds are often open and natural. The rustling of trees in the Napa Valley vineyard, the wind through the fields, the sound of footsteps on a dirt road, all of these elements create a grounded, organic auditory experience that reinforces the sense of freedom and space in Hallie's world. The sound of the birds singing and the wind blowing across the vineyard mirrors the unspoken emotional tone of Hallie's life. Lonely, but expansive, with room to grow and discover. In Annie's life, the sounds are more controlled, reflective of her tightly wound, formal upbringing. The echo of footsteps on marble floors or the distant hum of city traffic contrasts sharply with Hallie's natural surroundings. These elements, though subtle, shape our understanding of Annie's character and the sense of distance she feels from the freedom of her sister's world. There is a constant hum of sophistication in her life, almost like a soft reminder that she lives in a world bound by etiquette, rules, and expectations. The film's sound design also cleverly manipulates silence to draw attention to moments of tension or emotion. When the twins first meet, the sound of their voices is a soft, quiet hum in the background. There's a magical quality to their first conversation, almost as if the world around them has stilled in anticipation. As their relationship grows, the sounds around them become richer and more integrated with the emotional dynamics. The clinking of silverware at dinner or the rhythmic sounds of laughter in the background as they prank Meredith are all small auditory cues that help us feel the growing closeness between the sisters. Music, the heartbeat of the film. In addition to the visual techniques and sound design, the film's music, composed by Alan Silvestri, is integral to the emotional depth of The Parent Trap. Silvestri's score is both whimsical and tender, perfectly mirroring the tone of the movie. The score's light-hearted, bouncy themes are often paired with moments of playfulness and mischief, such as when the twins pull off their pranks or when they're huddled together in secret, planning their next move. The music's more poignant moments, however, come when the film takes on a more reflective, emotional tone. Silvestri's score swells during moments of emotional connection, such as when Hallie and Annie first bond or when their parents begin to reconcile. The orchestration here is softer, with strings gently pulling at the heartstrings, reinforcing the emotional weight of the scene. The music reflects the idea that while the film is, at its core, about comedy and adventure, it's also a story about love, healing, and family, a message that the music reinforces beautifully. There's also a smart use of pre-existing songs in the film, such as when the twins bond over their shared love of music. In particular, the song You're the One That I Want from Grease plays a central role during a pivotal scene, helping to build the emotional connection between the girls and underscore the idea that they are learning to embrace their shared history and family. The upbeat energy of the song contrasts with the tension of the scene, adding a layer of irony and humor to an otherwise serious moment. Editing, building pacing and emotional rhythm. The film's editing, led by Nancy Meyers and her team, plays a crucial role in establishing the pacing of the film and building its emotional rhythm. The movie is structured around the alternating lives of Hallie and Annie, so the editing needs to keep the audience engaged as the girls' lives slowly begin to merge. The transition between their separate worlds is often seamless, with the editing maintaining a consistent flow that allows the story to unfold without feeling too choppy. In the moments when Hallie and Annie finally meet, the editing moves from close-ups of their faces to wide shots that capture the magic of their reunion. These transitions aren't just about shifting between different locations, they're about shifting emotional states. From confusion and wonder to excitement and determination, the editing allows us to follow the emotional journey of the characters in a fluid, cohesive way. In moments of humor, the pacing quickens. Quick cuts are often employed to emphasize the comedic beats of the film, especially during the pranks and light-hearted interactions between the twins and their father. In contrast, the film slows down during the more emotionally intimate moments, lingering on close-ups that allow us to feel the weight of Hallie and Annie's evolving connection, as well as their parents' changing feelings. Conclusion: the director's vision. Nancy Meyers' directorial vision for The Parent Trap is defined by a commitment to creating a visually stunning, emotionally resonant experience. Every technical decision, from cinematography and color choices to sound design and editing, is carefully crafted to support the film's themes of family, love, and reconciliation. The chemistry between the cast in The Parent Trap, 1998, plays a pivotal role in elevating the movie from a simple family comedy to a timeless exploration of familial bonds and love. While the charm of the movie largely comes from its heartwarming story and the engaging pranks pulled by the twin sisters, it's the undeniable connection between the actors that truly brings the film to life. Each performance, whether by the leads or the supporting cast, feels sincere, warm, and layered, showcasing an incredible synergy that extends beyond the screen. Lindsay Lohan's dual performance as Hallie Parker and Annie James is undoubtedly one of the highlights of The Parent Trap. For a young actor to take on two distinct roles and make them feel as individual as they are convincing is no small feat, but Lohan, at just 12 years old, displayed an astonishing level of skill and maturity in her portrayal of both characters. The chemistry between Lohan and herself, created through careful editing and the use of body doubles in some shots, is remarkable. But the success of this portrayal is also thanks to the way she brought unique personalities to each twin. Hallie, the bold, adventurous, and mischievous daughter raised in Napa Valley, exudes a rebellious energy, while Annie, the more refined, thoughtful, and proper girl raised in London, is calm, poised, and controlled. Watching the two versions of Lohan interact with each other is a testament to both her incredible talent and the filmmaker's skillful work in making this dual role seamless. The chemistry between Lohan and the other leads, particularly Dennis Quaid and Natasha Richardson, enhances the emotional weight of the film and makes the eventual reconciliation between Nick Parker and Elizabeth James all the more meaningful. Quaid, as the easygoing, charming Nick, and Richardson, as the elegant and kind Elizabeth, bring the film's core relationship to life with understated warmth. There is a natural, effortless flow between the two characters, making their eventual romantic reunion feel like the culmination of a journey, not just the coming together of two characters, but the coming together of two families. Their performances are full of depth, and there's an undeniable comfort between them, despite their initial awkwardness upon meeting after years of separation. The way they connect, even in their first moments together in the film, is palpable. Nick's early misgivings and Elizabeth's guarded nature are softened by their shared history, which the actors beautifully convey without uttering a word. The director, Nancy Meyers, had a clear vision for the dynamic between these characters, knowing that this chemistry would be key to drawing the audience into the story. Meyers, who has an affinity for creating character-driven narratives, had a deep understanding of the emotional journey the characters would undertake. It's in this recognition that the performances truly shine. Rather than merely serving as a catalyst for the plot, the actors' performances are the heartbeat of the film. Lohan's two distinct roles mirror the evolving bond between the two characters, and Quaid and Richardson's performances ground the film in emotional sincerity. This palpable chemistry between the leads is the kind of rare alchemy that is difficult to replicate. But the movie's magic didn't just come from Lohan, Quaid, and Richardson. Supporting actors like Simon Coons, who plays Martin the butler, and the iconic Elaine Hendricks as Meredith Blake, Nick's girlfriend, also bring significant depth to the film. Coons's portrayal of Martin, though initially seeming like a secondary character, brings a grounding sense of loyalty and affection to the film. He's the ever-supportive figure in Hallie's life and, later, in Annie's journey. His quiet affection for the Parker family and his knack for playing the straight man in a house full of chaos is one of the film's subtle joys. Hendricks's portrayal of Meredith adds an essential layer of tension and comedic conflict to the film. She's a character that audiences love to hate, and Hendricks delivers the role with a sly, funny, and biting performance. As a foil to the warmth of Nick and Elizabeth, Meredith brings a sense of conflict to the film, heightening the stakes and making the emotional payoffs more satisfying. She's self-absorbed, unaware of the deeper connections between Hallie and Annie, and her role as the villainess of the film creates a clear divide between the two girls' parents, one that drives the narrative forward. Behind the scenes, there are stories of the cast's camaraderie and the collaborative effort it took to make The Parent Trap feel like a tight-knit, genuine family unit. While Lindsay Lohan's dual roles took a lot of technical work in terms of editing and special effects, the chemistry between the actors went beyond mere performance. Lohan and Quaid, in particular, developed a strong working relationship during filming, with Quaid noting that he was particularly impressed by how quickly Lohan transformed from playing one twin to the other. The young actress had to juggle both characters' emotions and mannerisms, and there were moments when the two personas had to interact in the same scene. Quaid, as an experienced actor, took Lohan under his wing and helped guide her through those complex moments. His mentorship, combined with Lohan's innate talent, created a sense of natural chemistry that translated to the screen. There are also stories of Lohan and Natasha Richardson forming a special bond, both on and off-screen. The two actresses spent time together to prepare for their scenes, particularly the emotional moments between Hallie and Annie as they grow closer to each other. Richardson, known for her grace and kindness, helped create a warm environment on set, making Lohan feel safe to experiment with the more challenging scenes, where Hallie and Annie experience vulnerability and emotion. This behind-the-scenes camaraderie made their on-screen mother-daughter relationship feel authentic, with the tenderness of their interactions never feeling forced or melodramatic. It was clear from the outset that there was a deep sense of mutual respect and affection between the two actresses, which translated to a bond that was undeniable to viewers. The film's set dynamics were similarly important in creating the film's overall atmosphere. The iconic locations, such as the lavish Napa Valley vineyard where Nick's family lives, and the elegant mansion in London that belongs to Elizabeth, add a layer of realism and grandeur to the story. But behind the glossy surfaces of these locations, there was an attention to detail in the way the actors interacted with their environment. The setting wasn't just a backdrop, it became an integral part of the storytelling. Hallie's mischievous pranks are set against the sprawling, isolated vineyard, while Annie's emotional growth happens within the serene, understated beauty of London. The attention to the detail of each space deepens the film's emotional resonance. There's a careful balance between the grandeur of the locations and the intimacy of the characters' journeys, a dynamic that's only possible through the actors' grounded performances within these spaces. The audience reactions to The Parent Trap were overwhelmingly positive upon its release, with many praising the film's charm, humor, and heartfelt moments. The casting of Lindsay Lohan in her dual role was especially well received, with critics and viewers alike noting that she managed to bring depth and warmth to both Hallie and Annie. Her ability to portray two distinct characters with such clarity was a key factor in the film's success. There was a sense that Lohan's performance wasn't just about creating two characters, but about crafting an emotional journey that audiences could genuinely connect with. Critics also praised the performances of Quaid and Richardson, noting that their mature, nuanced portrayals of Nick and Elizabeth were part of what made the film stand out from other family comedies of the time. The chemistry between the two actors added a layer of emotional depth that transcended the typical genre conventions, creating a sense of sincerity that resonated with viewers. The film's combination of humor, heart, and charm made it an instant favorite with audiences, and it quickly became a nostalgic classic. But what's remarkable is how The Parent Trap continues to maintain its place in popular culture. Over the years, it has become a beloved film for a generation of viewers who grew up with it, while also introducing new generations to the timeless themes of family, love, and identity. The jokes, the pranks, and the emotional payoffs are still as funny and touching today as they were in 1998. The film's lasting popularity is evident in the ongoing engagement of its fans. People still quote lines from the movie, share memes on social media, and even reunite over the shared experience of watching the movie as kids. The character of Hallie and Annie, two girls who, despite their differences, find strength in their shared bloodline, resonates with people of all ages. There's something timeless about the idea of finding one's true self and connecting with family, no matter the distance. Overall, the chemistry between the cast, the dynamics of the set, and the way the film engaged audiences all played a significant role in the movie's success. It wasn't just about the funny pranks or the heartfelt reunions, it was about the genuine connections forged between the characters, the actors, and the audience. Those connections have only deepened over time, ensuring The Parent Trap remains a cherished classic in the hearts of its fans. As the credits roll on The Parent Trap, 1998, it's clear that this film transcends the typical family comedy. Its defining elements, the heartwarming performances, emotional depth, seamless blending of humor and drama, and timeless themes of family and love have solidified its place as a beloved classic. From the captivating dual role of Lindsay Lohan to the natural chemistry between the cast, everything about the movie is crafted with care, drawing the audience into a world where love, laughter, and second chances reign. It's a film that doesn't just entertain but resonates deeply, offering a touching exploration of what it means to heal, reconnect, and rediscover family. The Parent Trap stands out not just because of its memorable pranks or charming setting, but because of how it navigates deeper emotional terrain. The narrative, which could have easily been a light-hearted story about two girls switching places, dives into complex territory with its exploration of family dynamics, loss, and the process of mending broken relationships. By the end of the movie, we don't just root for the girls to reunite their parents. We also feel a sense of joy and satisfaction at their personal growth and newfound sisterhood. This emotional core is what gives The Parent Trap its lasting appeal. It's a story about finding belonging, love, and connection, no matter the obstacles in the way. The film's exceptional casting and performances elevate it to new heights. Lindsay Lohan's remarkable portrayal of Hallie and Annie brings both twins to life in a way that feels genuine and layered. Dennis Quaid and Natasha Richardson's nuanced performances as the divorced parents further deepen the emotional resonance of the story. These performances, combined with impeccable supporting roles from Simon Coons, Elaine Hendricks, and the ensemble cast, create a sense of family, one that feels real and authentic, even within the context of the more fantastical elements of the plot. Every character, even the seemingly secondary ones, contributes to the overall tapestry of love and reconciliation that defines the movie. Moreover, the chemistry between the cast members isn't just confined to their on-screen relationships. It extends beyond the frame, as evidenced by the behind-the-scenes stories and the palpable camaraderie shared between the actors. This synergy allowed the film to transcend the typical boundaries of its genre. Rather than relying solely on situational humor, the movie focuses on building genuine emotional connections between the characters, allowing the audience to emotionally invest in their journey. This is particularly evident in the way Hallie and Annie's relationship evolves, from two strangers to two sisters who are bound by shared history, love, and a desire to heal their parents' broken hearts. Technically, The Parent Trap is a showcase of craftsmanship in terms of visual storytelling. The cinematography's soft color palettes, subtle lighting choices, and framing techniques work in harmony to reflect the emotional journey of the characters. The sound design and music further enhance the atmosphere, turning the simplest of scenes into rich, emotional moments. The way the film is edited adds to its fluidity, carefully balancing the comedic and dramatic beats to create a rhythm that keeps the audience engaged from start to finish. Every technical decision, from the soundscape to the score, is in service of telling a more profound, human story, and it's in this attention to detail that the movie truly shines. The film's exploration of themes like family, identity, and the power of love forms the heart of the story. In The Parent Trap, family isn't defined by blood alone. It's shaped by the connections we form, the people we choose to love, and the moments of reconciliation that allow us to heal past wounds. Hallie and Annie's journey is not just about finding each other, but about coming to terms with their parents' past mistakes and the hope that love, no matter how strained, can overcome distance and time. The symbolism of the vineyard, its rows of intertwined vines and the golden light that bathes the characters in the final scenes, serves as a beautiful metaphor for the story of mending broken relationships and finding new beginnings. Beyond the personal stories, The Parent Trap taps into universal themes that resonate with audiences across generations. The film speaks to the importance of second chances, the significance of family, and the transformative power of love and forgiveness. It reminds us that while life might be filled with separations, misunderstandings, and challenges, there is always the potential for reconnection and growth. It's a timeless narrative that continues to speak to the hearts of viewers of all ages. The movie also succeeded in creating a lasting cultural impact, cementing its place as a nostalgic classic. Even years after its release, The Parent Trap continues to be a part of pop culture, referenced and cherished by fans who grew up with it, and by new generations discovering its magic for the first time. Its popularity has endured not just because of its entertaining premise, but because of the emotional journey it invites audiences to embark on. Hallie and Annie's reunion is something we all long for, whether in our own relationships or in our hopes for the future. It's about rediscovering what really matters and learning to rebuild connections that might have been lost along the way. As a film, The Parent Trap also taps into a deeper societal theme of identity. For the two girls, it's a journey of self-discovery, of coming to understand who they are not just as individuals but as part of a larger family. The identity of family itself is explored throughout the movie, questioning what it truly means to be a family. Is it about blood? About history? Or is it about the love and bonds that we cultivate with one another? This exploration of familial ties, set against the backdrop of comedy and drama, allows the film to touch on universal themes of belonging, acceptance, and the importance of embracing who we are, flaws and all. The film's humor, rooted in situational comedy, also strikes a balance with its more emotional moments. The pranks, jokes, and humorous misunderstandings between the girls and their parents are genuinely funny, but they never overshadow the heart of the story. The humor serves as a vehicle for deeper emotional truths, allowing the audience to laugh while also engaging with the more serious aspects of the characters' lives. Looking back, the impact of The Parent Trap can't be overstated. It's a film that has stood the test of time, becoming a beloved classic for a reason. It has resonated with viewers for over 2 decades because of its ability to balance humor, emotion, and universal themes with a touch of magic. It reminds us of the importance of family, the power of love, and the transformative nature of second chances. For all these reasons, The Parent Trap remains a shining example of how a family film can be both deeply emotional and immensely entertaining. So, if you loved this deep dive into the world of The Parent Trap and are eager to explore more cinematic gems, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of cinema. There's always more to uncover, more stories to tell, and more moments to experience together. Let's keep exploring movies, one breakdown at a time.